and you guys are legitimizing this? Do you guys not have any strategy? Or you just don't give a fuck? You just want to plunge our country to fascism just so you can get some pats on the head by some Jewish fascists who want to hear you say that there's an anti-Semitism problem. You want pats on the head for the most insane genocidal culture we ever seen. So as they patted you on the head, oh look, hey look, this is a good leftist. See, these are the leftists who acknowledge anti-Semitism. This is the bad leftist. RBN is an anti-Semite because he refused to accept the claim that there's a rise of anti-Semitism. So they're patting you on the head and telling you you're doing a good job as they're cracking down on your free speech rights. Congratulations. Speaking of the most propagandized country in the world, where Jewish supremacy is being implemented as we speak, you can make an argument that the West has been ruled and always had Jewish supremacy laws, but ever since the Zionist class decided to engage in the final solution in Gaza, they don't even care about hiding it. So you had Donald Trump and MAGA, who made their entire political career raging against DEI and liberal identity politics. The same people who spent their time claiming that people on the left were snowflakes with purple hair who don't want to be triggered, that was nothing but a projection from the capitalist class. There's also what I truly believe, where the true left, the true communist working class left, is purposely drowned out by liberal capitalists who engage in identity politics. And it's a great strategy that they did to erase the left, like RBN, the anti-imperialist left, and make it all about liberal wokeism. The LGBTQ issues, they wanted that to define the left. If you're ultra leftist, you must support trans people in bathrooms. Like that was a very clever way for the capitalist class to defame the left and delegitimize the left among the working class. Which is why, as principled and theory reading communists and revolutionaries, we don't allow the capitalist class to ever distract us with those ridiculous culture wars. Because we know that it was all a projection. Everything they projected on the left has been true of the right. Everything that the capitalist class say about socialists or the left is true of the right. They are the ones who want to create a class of protected citizens. And I mentioned this before. It's probably the greatest heist ever pulled, probably. The greatest heist ever pulled was the neocons, the corporate establishment, managing to convince people that these privileged white people in tiny hats are some sort of privileged group. And to even call this DEI is misleading. This is DEI on steroids, way worse than what the liberal idea of diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is outright Jewish supremacy, where they are forcing universities to cater to Jewish beliefs, to study, analyze Zionism without any critique, analyzing of said ideology. So the greatest heist ever pulled was the most wealthiest, the most protected minority class. It's somehow able to frame themselves as some victimized minority. The people who are able to get immediate congressional hearings, the people who are able to get bills passed on a drop of a dime, the people who are able to get Harvard presidents fired, the people who are able to mobilize a police state around their political demands, has somehow convinced people that they are the victims. It was brilliantly done. To show you guys how protected these people are, this is what the Trump administration is forcing on elite academia. And a lot of these elite academia institutions are ran by diehard Zionists. Columbia and Harvard and Brown, the political theater on corporate media was that there was some sort of struggle. Oh, they're being forced by the Trump administration. Oh my God, why is the Trump administration weaponizing government? They bend over to every single thing that Trump said because they are ran by Zionists. The new president of Harvard is a staunch, diehard Zionist who supported censoring Palestinian people. But to show you how Zionist is the height of anti-Semitism, they was going after him because they feel like he wasn't censoring enough. After they got rid of Claudine Gay, who also supported censoring pro-Palestinian protests. But they got rid of her because, once again, she wasn't protesting enough. So you have these institutions, and this is the political theater, and this is the framing of the conversation I don't support. The idea that there's some tension between Trump and these universities. Because we've seen universities crack down the Palestinian movement for years. Based on what I've seen, this is a coordinated effort by the Zionist academic elite in order to sell their plan to crack down on higher learning and education in the first place. So how do you do that? You get some dumbass like Donald Trump. You get a movement full of youthful idiots, which was essentially a psyop of Palantir to focus on the culture war and use that political movement as a way to implement Jewish supremacy and crack down on freedom of speech. But I cannot emphasize enough, and big shout out to Glenn Greenwald for highlighting this, the pressure that Trump is putting on universities and what they are passing and what they're implementing in their schools is not remotely anything to do with fighting anti-Semitism and protecting Jewish students. It was straight up an instrument to implement fascism, crack down on free speech, and to spread Zionism. Look, this is what the Brown commitment to the Trump administration entailed. And I want you guys to understand, what does this have to do with fighting anti-Semitism, with keeping people safe? Look, Brown is committed to taking significant, proactive, effective steps to combat anti-Semitism and ensure a campus environment free from harassment and discrimination. These shall include actions to support a thriving Jewish community. So you guys realize that even liberal DEI was all about, hey man, let's just give Black and brown people a chance. This is what a lot of people on the right don't understand. They assume that they was picking people with lower test scores. That wasn't what it was. It was, and you can make the argument that they shouldn't do stuff based on race, but there was ideas like, let's get the highest scoring, let's get Black people who qualify for our school and have them join the school as a representative proportion of the Black community. That's not even what this is. This is, you guys understand, this is way worse than even the worst interpretation of DEI. This is DEI on steroids because this is about creating a thriving Jewish community. I don't even like framing the issue of DEI around Black people. I actually fucked up. I shouldn't have done that because I don't like when people do that, because we know that DEI mostly benefited white women in the first place. So we have DEI, a program that mostly benefits white women, even though Black people take all the strains because we live rent-free in white America's brain. It's not even as bad as this because they are creating preferred outcomes for said community. This is what the right wing claimed the liberal class did, that shit libs did, that neoliberals did, that they favored different groups, that they favored Black Americans, that they favorite Latinos, that they favor the LGBTQ community. Meanwhile, that's exactly what they're doing regarding the Jewish community. And for some reason, Americans are just accepting this. And then if you don't accept this, they're accused of being anti-Semitic. I'm telling you guys, man, I don't give a fuck how much shit I take. I really don't give a fuck. The left is playing a very dangerous game, legitimizing the anti-Semitism hoax. It's a dangerous fucking game because we are seeing what the ruling class, what the capitalist class who enforcing Jewish supremacy will use that political capital you are building for them. So they don't care about your fucking soul argument. They're like, oh, well, technically anti-Semitism is this, but technically it's Israel that the anti-Semites. They look at you and they're like, bro, 99% of synagogues support Israel. Who the fuck are you to say you know what the will of the Jewish people? You guys are anti-Semites because you don't support their ethnic cleansing, their apartheid, their genocide, because Jewish people feel uncomfortable on college campus. There is zero institutionalized anti-Semitism. Not only is there zero institutionalized anti-Semitism, it's the exact opposite. As you guys see here, they have programs that favor the Jewish community, that favors and create a protected class. So as they create a protected class, the same protected class that is getting paid reparations because pro-Palestinian protests hurt their feelings. Meanwhile, white Americans sleep, not outraged over that. They probably tweeted about some trans issue somewhere. God forbid if you're a black man, you talk about the debt that is owed, the generational wealth that was stolen from us. And then white people freak the fuck out whenever you talk about reparations for for descendants of slaves. So as they melted down at the concept of reparation for the people who built this fucking country, they are not only silent as a peep, but support politically. Serving the Jews, acknowledging that the Jews are the God-chosen people, to the point where we have to legislate and create them as a and just like Charlie Kirk said, it's our job to honor the Jews. The most cuck-like ideology, Christian Zionism, is not only pathetic, and not only is it a cuck-like ideology, it's directly leading to the implementation of Jewish supremacy. But anyway, let me continue this, because we only scratched the surface. Like, so Brown has to take steps to ensure a campus-free environment of harassment and discrimination. These shall include actions to support a thriving Jewish community. That's crazy. Research and education about Israel. What? Bro. So the Trump administration is forcing the education and study of Israel. Do you guys think they mean a critical study of Israel? Absolutely not. How is it not the implementation of Jewish fascism? How is this not the entire Zionist community straight up saying, all right, we are implementing the final solution, this whole illusion of us being some liberal democracy, time to turn that off. Let's see how much the people in the West are willing to accept and tolerate. And apparently there are a lot of people willing to tolerate this bullshit, because as they are creating a protected class of genocidal Jewish people, you still got dipshits. You got these cowardly dipshits whose minds are still brainwashed by Jewish supremacy, who still say stuff like this. Hey, Nick, don't you know that anti-Semitism is actually real? Don't you know there's actually people who hate Jewish people? Don't you know there are structural problems that... I don't give a fuck who cancels me, man. I don't tolerate, especially got the Trump administration saying they're going to prosecute Americans for anti-Semitism, and you guys are legitimizing this? Do you guys not have any strategy? Or you don't give a fuck? You just want to plunge our country to fascism just so you can get some pats on the head by some Jewish fascists who want to hear you say that there's an anti-Semitism problem. You want pats on the head for the most insane genocidal culture we ever seen. So as they patted you on the head, oh look, hey look, this is a good leftist. See, this is a leftist who acknowledge anti-Semitism. This is a bad lesson. RBN is an anti-Semite because he refused to accept the claim that there's a rise of anti-Semitism. So they're patting you on the head and telling you you're doing a good job as they're cracking down on your free speech rights. Congratulations. Now I'm talking about the entirety. Then the Zohar Mamdani left. I accept there's anti-Semitism. It's real. I know people hate Jews. Yeah, there are people on the left that hate Jews. I know them personally. I don't. And I'm around the most radical, free Palestine from the river to the sea motherfuckers in the world. And I don't know a single person who ever went to me like, hey, Nick, I'm cool with Christians. I'm cool with Muslims. I'm cool with the Amish. But those Jews, fuck them. Never heard it in my entire goddamn life. You want to know where I heard that from? On South Park. A show written by Zionists in order to convince you that there are people like Eric Cartman walking around. Why do you guys think that show was allowed to exist? And now they got a new season where they're bitching about anti-Semitism. So people saw Eric Cartman, a fictional fucking character, complain about the Jews, and now people think that's a real fucking problem. That's how brainwashed Americans are. As they get bills passed for them, as they are 25% of the billionaires, have the most wealth, cracking off. They got a fucking apartheid state they get the right of return to. Meanwhile, people see fucking fictional cartoon characters like Eric Cartman. They allow Hollywood and all these bullshit media apparatuses to brainwash them to believe that this anti-Semitism is a fucking real thing. As they are building power and implementing fascism. To me, I am disgusted whenever I see people legitimize this. No strategy, or they simply just don't give a fuck. They'd rather be accepted among Zionist-controlled West, the genocidal West and the genocidal society. They want to be a part of this. I don't want to be a part of this. I'm not a jazz man. So the jazz man will go around and talk about how there's anti-Semitism problem because that's what they do. They want to be part of the fucking club. I don't care about being in the club at all. So I'm going to talk. This whole fucking thing about anti-Semitism has been one of the wildest psyops I have watched develop my entire life. And then for people on the left, the people who claim to oppose Zionism, for them to double down on this, it's crazy, bro. Anyway, let me read more about this insanity here. This is the DEI for Jews. And DEI for Jews is hilarious, but that's not even accurate, bro. This is way beyond the worst example of what a conservative can point to us regarding liberal DEI. There is nothing that comes close to this. They need to support a thriving Jewish community, research and education about Israel, a robust program in Judaic studies. I can't. Every time I reach a new bullet point, I have to stop like, bro, what? So every single college campus, in order to fight anti-Semitism, has to have a robust program in Judaic studies. Is that supposed to say thorough outreach? Is that a typo? Through outreach to the Jewish day school students? So I think they said thorough outreach to Jewish day school students to provide information about applying to Brown. So it's not only just DEI. It's like, hey man, you need to actively go out to recruit more Jewish students. Harvard is 25% Jewish. The fuck you talking about? Less than 3% of the population make up 25% of Harvard. And Trump is like, oh my God, why you got discriminating against Jewish people? Actually, how many Jews are in Brown? Brown Jewish. No, that's not the right one. I'm about to say brown Jewish population. That is not the Google search I need. Brown University Jewish population. They was like, what are you searching right now? Brown Jewish population. University. Y'all can't type right now. 23%. Oh, Jesus Christ. Here's my AI search here. Look at this. Trump wants Brown to spend more time and more resources When brown makes up 23%. Isn't it 3%? Like, what percentage? I think it's 3%. What percentage of Jews are America? Bro, I know ADL. Bro, this stream is like get pulled like a motherfucker. Dude, I might single-handedly destroy free speech on YouTube. They're like, nigga, we can't have this no more. Look at this comparison, bro. This is the kind of shit that get you called an anti-Semite for noticing. Approximately 2.4% of the population is Jewish. Meanwhile, there are 23% of the Brown University. They're 25% of Harvard. Meanwhile, the Trump administration wants Brown to do more outreach to Jewish students. Brown has to provide resources for religiously observant Jewish community members. And I think this one is probably one of the craziest ones. The next one, they are forcing universities to renew partnerships with Israeli academics and national Jewish organizations. Jesus fucking Christ. Who they think is burning in hell, by the way. That's what the Torah said. For all the Christian Zionists, they believe your boy is burning in excrement in hell. But these are your homies. So they want to force universities to renew partnership with Israeli academics and national Jewish organizations. So they literally want to directly tie elite academia and universities to this country with Israeli education, which we showed Israeli education is all about them brainwashing their population into hating Arabs. Oh, Jesus Christ. They got to celebrate 130 years of Jewish life. They advocate for more security. But you got to see where I'm coming from. This is batshit crazy. And why am I one of the few people covering this? I mean, independent media channels. And I'm sure that Glenn, he probably has a segment coming on this because I saw Glenn post this. So maybe Glenn might cover this. But why don't anyone talk about the purposeful implementation of Zio-fascism, Jewish supremacy, that's coming directly from our government? Remember, you had the teacher union that was like, hey, yo, we can't endorse the Holocaust remembrance definition of anti-Semitism. We can't use the ADL as the official education sources. And then you had over 400 Jewish organizations that put massive pressure. I can only imagine what they told them. Can you imagine what they told the leadership of the teacher union, the threats they lobbied at them, and then immediately they overturned the will of their own workers to force them to accept this insane batshit anti-Semitism hoax? So it's a conversation I've been having a lot of fun with. Is the United States Zionist occupied? Or is the United States and Israel just one entity? And we're completely fooled in believing that we are an independent country outside of the controlling grasp of the ruling class that worship and implement Jewish supremacy. To me, I think it's the chicken or the egg. Either way, the conclusion is the same. This country is fake, our politics is fake, until we get rid of the scourge that is known as Zionism and Jewish supremacy. And when you see the implementation of, I don't even like the term Jewish DEI because it doesn't even do a service, bro. When you see what they're forcing universities to do, they're forcing people to engage in Judaic studies. Like, is it even enough to just call it Zionist anymore? That's why I'm calling it just Jewish supremacy, because Zionism it's not doing it justice. You know what I mean? I agree with the Norman Finkelstein. Like, it's not doing it justice because it's more than Zionism, bro. Like, Zionism is you supporting the Israeli state. You support the existence of the Israeli state and willing to facilitate that. Like, people get upset at me when I say that Zoran Mamdani is a liberal Zionist. They're like, how dare you call Zoran Mamdani a liberal Zionist? And I'm like, do you motherfuckers know what Zionism is? It's literally just the support of Israel, the implementation of the support of Israel. So when you guys see what is going on in our society right now, do you guys really think Zionism is a term that properly describes this? It is absolutely not. We are beyond the point of just, it's just Zionism. We are living under Jewish fascism, Jewish supremacy. You can make an argument that I agree with that Christian Zionists are teaming up with Muslim Zionists, like Jelani in Syria. You had Egypt that just approved of an oil and gas deal with Israel. So you have the Muslim and Christian Zionists in Egypt, in Syria, in the United States. They are teaming up together to implement Jewish fascism, because that's what this is. And I understand if you don't want to go there, but I don't think Zionism goes far enough anymore to describe what the hell is going on. To understand how absolutely cooked we are as a society, this is the photo of House Democrats who was summoned to their AIPAC by their AIPAC handlers to attend this field trip. Let me see if I can make this bigger. Yeah, I think this might be a bigger version. Look, you had Republicans. They was doing their AIPAC field trip. Look, they're like children. They're on their AIPAC field trip to Israel. These are the people who run our government. These are Democrats. And this just happened right after Republicans did so. This is despite the fact that the majority of Democrats are opposed to arming the state of Israel. And they still make this pilgrimage. Oh, yeah, I'm going to share this. Before I move on, I actually do got to share this. This the more like this, what they're forcing these schools to do is insane. Brown had to conduct a survey in 2025 to evaluate the campus climate for Brown students, including the climate for students with shared Jewish ancestry, to evaluate social media harassment. So what Brown is going to do is they're going to have school-wide surveys. Well, the Trump administration is forcing universities to have school-wide surveys where Jewish students have to report whether they feel welcome at Brown. This is where it right here, where they feel welcome at Brown, whether they feel safe reporting anti-Semitism. Ew, brother, ew, what is this? That's the meme. Ew, brother, ew, what is this? They're forcing universities to do surveys when they ask Jewish students, hey, man, do you feel comfortable about reporting anti-Semitism? The most protected and coddled and privileged group that ever existed. I think a lot is kind of repeating itself now. They're talking about anti-Semitism training. Wait, what is that in here? Whether they have experienced harassment. Okay, so pretty much they kind of repeat themselves. They're pretty much pressing on the fact that they want Jewish people to be as comfortable as possible, because back in the day, anti-Semitism used to be the hatred of Jewish or Semitic people, or it could be like all the people who promoted Holocaust denial. That was a commonly accepted definition of anti-Semitism. But now it's simply people who make Jewish people feel uncomfortable. Like, if you say something that Jewish people don't agree with politically, or if you do anything that make them uncomfortable at all, that's the new definition of anti-Semitism. That's why I said that my comments about tiny hats is rude, but it's still not anti-Semitism. It's not anti-Semitism to be mean to these assholes. It's anti-Semitism to question their belief. So I got a little ahead of myself regarding the AIPAC story, but I'll get back into it. But this is why. I wonder if there's any actual articles on this, because they've been trying to keep this under wrap. Do you guys think Democrats, when they want to know, they went on AIPAC sponsored field trips? Look, bro, I just search Google, but you still can't really find it. You can't really find this story. Here, I did find this one though. Look at this. This shows how crazy it is. You have the Democratic voters that are en masse rejecting Israel, but despite like 80% of Democratic voters say they're not supporting Israel, they still do it. And this is why you get those insane policies, like the crackdown on free speech, the implementation of Jewish fascism at these college universities. But what the most hilarious thing about Trump's implementation of Jewish DEI, I think I'm almost done with the segment. Still got a few more things to cover, so I'm gonna wrap it up here. Is that Trump, as I mentioned earlier, we all know, you guys wasn't born yesterday. He and MAGA made their entire existence off of fighting wokeism, fighting DEI. They arguably won an election running on DEI. So this is what they used to say before they got the order from their AIPAC handlers that they must implement Jewish supremacy. Brown shall not maintain programs that promote unlawful efforts to achieve race-based outcomes, quotas, diversity targets, or similar efforts. They flip just like this. So if you don't support any sort of diversity targets, achieving race-based outcomes, quotas for everyone else, but you support it for Jewish people so they can accede more than anyone else, because you made it clear, Christian Zionists, MAGA, Donald Trump, you made it clear that you don't support race-based outcomes, diversity targets for other groups, but you support it for Jewish people. So my friends, repeat after me. What is that called? We believe that Jewish people deserve special treatment and elevated above certain standards, above other people. This is Jewish supremacy being implemented by our government. So why are people afraid to call it that?